Joyce Meyer is a well-known and talked about TV host and author. She was in the middle of a shocking and unforgettable event today. Most of the time, the courtroom was quiet and full of people talking about the law. Things got tense, though, when the judge was about to give the sentence. He stood there with a face that showed he was scared and excited at the same time. There was no way anyone could have known what would happen. Really important things were said next, which seemed to freeze the air. She went from being shocked to being very scared very quickly. She tripped and fell in the middle of the courtroom before anyone could fully understand what was going on. People in the room let out gasps when they realized how bad things were. Just what was so strong about that answer? Were the words themselves what made them feel bad, or was it something else? As people rushed to help her, there was complete silence in the room. The next thing that happened faster than anyone thought it would. Everyone is wondering what really happened to make Meyer fall and what hard truth she now has to face. What Joyce Meyer did and how she got there. Joyce Meyer's story is one of strength, faith, and debate. From having a rough childhood to becoming one of the most well-known Christian televangelists, she worked hard. She has millions of fans all over the world and has been a major figure in the prosperity gospel movement for decades. A lot of people use her rise to fame to show how to keep going even when things get tough. Some people disagree with her and say that her kingdom is based on manipulating brands, taking advantage of people's money, and making Christianity more like a business. Meyer was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1943. She was abused as a child, which she has freely written about in her books and given to groups. She said her faith was what got her better, and this story from her own life shaped her later work. The early 1970s were the start of her faith journey. She went to a nearby charismatic church. She was drawn to service work right away. Joyce Meyer started Joyce Meyer Ministries in 1985. It is a Christian group that is not affiliated with any one religion. The point is to teach others what she has learned about faith, self-empowerment, and making money. Back then, Meyer's writing was honest, direct, and very close to home. People could connect with her because she wasn't a cold, perfect preacher. Instead, she showed that she had been through pain, struggle, and salvation. She was honest, which made her easy to connect with, especially among women who were having a hard time and needed help. As her fame grew, she used the power of radio and TV to start a daily show called Enjoying Everyday Life, which quickly became a huge hit. It was a mix of religious lessons and self-help tips. The show became a big part of her brand and helped her reach millions of people around the world, not just clergy. She became very popular very quickly over the next 20 years. One big reason for this is that she was able to tap into the growing market for faith-based media. She wrote more than 100 books, and many of them were big hits. This made Christian groups respect her even more. Battlefield of the Mind, The Confident Woman, and Living Beyond Your Feelings were some of her best-known books that helped build her reputation as a spiritual leader and motivational speaker. Her books and lessons spoke to a lot of people, especially those who were looking for both spiritual guidance and useful ways to make their lives better. Not everyone was sure, though, that Meyer's business was only about faith. Joyce Meyer Ministries had grown into a multi-million-dollar company by the early 2000s. It had a huge center in Fenton, Missouri, with office buildings, recording studios, and other large rooms. She changed the subject of her talks to money, saying that God gives money to people who are loyal. It seemed like more and more people didn't trust this move towards the prosperity gospel. People who didn't like Meyer pointed out that he lived a very expensive life, with a private jet worth $10 million, several expensive homes, expensive designer clothes, and a gated office complex worth tens of millions of dollars. A lot of people were curious about whether her money really came from God or was just the result of her being good at business. It got harder to tell the difference between faith and business. It became clearer how rich Meyer was, and soon the ministry's money was being checked out. Watchdog groups and investigative reporters were worried about whether donor money was being used correctly, or whether her tax-exempt status was being abused to get rich. The most important change came when the U.S. government looked into a group of well-known televangelists, including Joyce Meyer. Senate to find out if their groups were misusing tax-free money to make money for themselves. Meyer helped with the investigation and told them some things about her money, but many people were still not sure how rich she really was. She wasn't upset about her success even though she knew she was being watched closely. She said a lot of times that she didn't get rich from gifts but from selling books and giving speeches. She said that the way she lived was proof of God's gifts, not bad money management. Meyer has shown two sides of things in her work. Some see her as a mother of faith and strength, and the Bible has given millions of people hope. Some people see her as a sign of how modern Christianity has turned too much into a business, where faith is linked to getting rich and making money. Her supporters say she gives good moral advice and that her success shows she is a good leader. But some people believe that her business is just another way for televangelists to make money off of their fans. Even though Meyer is still a minister, she is still a controversial figure. A few people look up to her, but others are wary of her. She is also often the subject of arguments about how religion, money, and power are connected. It's not a surprise that people have been making guesses and stories about her for years, since her work has caused so much trouble. Everyone wants to know, has Joyce Meyer's business finally reached a turning point now that she's in trouble with the law? There was a lot of pushing, going, and ending which had to happen. Let us say a prayer. Father, I ask that you fill my mouth with food because I don't know what will come out of it. You promised to open it and you will. That's why I'm going to open my mouth and walk on water. You can tell people what they need to hear. You have an hour, so I can't tell you my whole story, but I trust you to know what to say to help other people. I pray that everyone will know they can do anything if they let you lead and guide them when today is over. I say amen in the name of Jesus. You know, everyone has a story. It's not that mine is better than everyone else's. Everyone should read their story. Talk that she was in jail and the scandal that started it all. A lot of people, religious and non-religious, are scared that Joyce Meyer might be arrested. Christians used to think this woman was unbeatable because of her powerful speeches and best-selling books. She is now at the center of a scandal that no one saw coming. Meyer worked for decades to build a kingdom based on faith and wealth. He convinced millions of people that having strong faith could bring them divine benefits. There is a lot of talk now, though, about whether the money she made is what brought her down. The first news stories about Meyer's legal problems appeared out of nowhere. At first it seemed like the rumors and news stories were just made up to stir up trouble on the internet. But as more information came out, the rumors turned into a full-on media storm. News sources: hey, I heard that there might be a criminal investigation into financial wrongdoing, which caused a lot of talk. Could it be that the woman who taught them how to deal with tough times was now going through one herself? Joyce Meyer Ministries is said to have wasted money, which is what started the fight. People were worried for years about how the group spent gifts money that wasn't taxed and big purchases. Meyer's fancy house, private jets, pricey clothes, and overall lavish way of life have been criticized for a long time. These things were thought to be too much for a religious leader whose job it was to teach faith, not make money. There were a lot of people who didn't believe Meyer when she said that she made a lot of money by selling books and giving speeches. Meyer and her organization may have lied to donors by making it look like their money was directly going to charity work. This is one of the most shocking claims in the new scandal. It was said that Meyer used a lot of the money for personal things and other business ventures that were not reported. Some former employees who did not want to be named said that the ministry did everything it could to avoid government checks and that financial records were purposely vague. People said that the IRS and other government agents had been quietly building a case against Joyce Meyer Ministries for years, waiting for the right time to go to court. Things got even worse because of this. Stories that got around said that the investigation was mostly about tax fraud, theft, and breaking rules about how nonprofits should handle their money. There were no official charges yet. If what Meyer says is true, things could go badly for her and her group as a whole. People with a lot of knowledge about the case said that witnesses might be former insiders who were ready to speak out against Meyer. This made things worse. People in this group said that the company always lied about its finances and that the top leaders knew more than they were letting on. What if these claims were true? It might mean the end of one of the most important Christian groups today. Of course, some people believe that the whole thing is a plot to harm Meyer's reputation and bring down a powerful religious leader. People who support her say that Christians have been unfairly attacked in the past and that this could be another case of a preacher who is making a difference being punished for it. These people say Meyer is being falsely accused because she has always been honest about her money and the charges are just an attempt to make her look bad. But for some, the event was a long overdue wake-up call. Some people say that televangelists like Meyer have been making a lot of money for a long time without being properly watched, even though they say they are doing holy work. They believe that this case is finally fair for a business that has cheated people out of their money for a long time. As word got out that Meyer was in jail, it was annoyingly hard to figure out exactly what was going on. Different news stories said she had already been arrested, while others said she was only being questioned and hadn't been charged yet. Because there was a lot of doubt, more ideas came up. There was a big government cover-up and Meyer's lawyers were putting off what was going to happen. Everyone is talking about Joyce Meyer in court these days. No matter what the truth is, she is no longer just a preacher and author. We don't know if this scandal will hurt her career or if she will be able to get back on track. But there's one question that keeps coming up. Has Joyce Meyer's empire finally come to an end? Or will she find a way to rise again? I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad about yourself, because we've all been hurt. Right now I can say that. It may sound silly, but I'm glad I went through what I did because it made me who I am now. Thank you. This is what has helped me help a lot of abused people around the world, mostly women. There's probably no way to tell how many people in this room have been sexually abused. We've all been hurt by things like being abused, neglected, or having parents who didn't love us. Other people who talk badly about us or compare us to another child can also hurt us. You might have told someone, or you might not have. You are so lucky to have had great parents who told you they loved you and that you could do anything. Some people do terrible things to kids when they are young. People have had heated arguments about Joyce Meyer's legal problems and the proof that she is guilty. Some people think they are fair punishments, while others think they are necessary. People have said about her ministry for years that she is bad with money and takes donor money to benefit herself. But up until now, these claims had never really been tested in court. After rumors spread that investigations are still going on and that the televangelist could be sued, he is now at the center of a growing scandal. Claims of bad money management, tax fraud, and wrong use of charity funds are at the heart of the case. Reports say that investigators are trying to figure if Joyce Meyer Ministries lied on their financial records and spent millions of dollars on personal expenses instead of the charity work that donors thought they were supporting. Some stories say that ministry funds were used to buy expensive things like private jets, fancy cars, and fancy homes, even though the purchases were said to be necessary for the ministry. People who work there or used to work there are some of the most damning witnesses. Some of them are said to have come forward to say that financial records were hidden on purpose to keep outsiders from checking them. The people who spoke out say that the company had a culture of secrecy that kept most people from seeing financial information. Some people say that big deals were hidden behind fake businesses or put under broad cost categories so that the tax authorities wouldn't find out about them. It has been said that Meyer and her team may have known about legal risks for years, but have not proven them. This adds to the argument. Some say that government lawyers told them about possible problems with following the rules, but those worries were not taken seriously. It could mean more than just bad money management if this is true. It could mean doing something wrong on purpose, which has much bigger legal effects. Meyer's lawyers have said that she did nothing wrong and that her wealth comes from sales of books, speeches, and other legal ways of making money, not from stealing. The charges are just an attack on a well-known religious leader. It has always been clear how much money someone spends. Critics, on the other hand, say that her big business and expensive lifestyle make people wonder if she has really lived up to the moral duties of a religious nonprofit. It's still not clear what will happen to Meyer as the investigations go on. If the charges are proven in court, she could get fined a lot, lose the tax-exempt status of her ministry, or even be charged with a crime. And if this turns out to be false, it would be another case of a strong Christian leader being criticized too much for being successful. Joyce Meyer's name will either become a warning about how power, money, and faith can be abused, or it will remain one of the most important in modern Christianity. I know that most of the time they don't even know what they're doing, which makes me sad. Because most people act badly because they are hurt. It doesn't help to hate them. You can never get better if you're full of hate. That's the first thing you should know. Forgiving others is the only way to get better. One of the first things is that God always wants us to do what's best for us, even if it's hard or seems unfair. Being angry at someone who hurt you is like giving them poison to try and kill them. You poison yourself in the end. I want to break this up into two parts. First, I want to talk about the abuse. Second, I want to talk about the early days of the ministry and the things we had to go through to get to where we are now. This will show you that Dave and I had no idea what we were doing. Responses to Joyce Meyer's trial and the split among her fans. Meyer's trial has sparked a lot of responses, splitting her fans into two deep camps. Those who see her as a victim of an unfair system and those who think justice is finally being done. Meyer built a reputation as a strong, religious, and successful woman for many years, and her lessons inspired millions of people. But now, as the drama in court plays out, her fans and foes are fighting more than ever. Some of her devoted fans are still sure she is not guilty. They see the trial as an attack on Christianity and great religious leaders. Others say that the government and liberal groups have been trying for a long time to make televangelists look bad, especially ones as famous as Meyer. For those who support her, this is not about theft or doing something wrong with money. The goal is to silence a strong religious woman who has helped millions of people change their lives. Hashtags like #StandWithJoyce and #PrayForJoyce Meyer are all over social media as her fans support her. They believe she will get through this just like she has in the past. There are people in the religious community, including pastors, who have come forward to defend Meyer, saying that her wealth comes from God's gifts and that she is not lying. People in some churches have even held prayer vigils in her honor, hoping that God will help her get through it. But not everyone is sure that she is innocent. More and more former supporters and religious doubters think Meyer has built her kingdom by taking advantage of weak believers' faith. They see this trial as she finally having to answer for her actions. Many people who gave money to her church now feel cheated by a leader they used to trust. Some have gone on social media to talk about how they were told to give big amounts of money in the hopes of spiritual or financial improvement. All they got was disappointment and financial stress. Some people say Meyer's expensive lifestyle with her private jets, multi-million-dollar homes, and stylish clothes goes against the biblical values she says she preaches. They think the trial is showing what her church really is, which they see as a business empire that looks like a religious group. Many people now want religious groups to be more open about their finances. Meyer's case is used as an example of why churches and ministries should be held to the same standards of responsibility as other tax-exempt organizations. This trial is getting a lot of attention from major news outlets, which has made people even more divided. News hosts, lawyers, and financial experts have all had a lot to say about whether Meyer is really guilty of financial crimes or just a scapegoat. Some publications have felt sorry for her and called her a religious woman who is being mistreated, while others have seen her as an example of how greedy and dishonest televangelism can be today. People are still angry and divided about the trial as it goes on. No doubt Meyer's reputation has been harmed. Now everyone is waiting to see if she will be better than ever, or if this is the beginning of the end for her. Nobody will ever think of Joyce Meyer the same way again after this trial. People will talk about how she changed things long after the courtroom doors closed.